Well, welcome to the fourth Saturday in October. I guess this is kind of like the fourth Saturday in October, kind of like Fifth Third Bank. It doesn't make sense. But we are the SEC Tailgate podcast for the rest of us. So you know what we're going to be talking about this week? A lot of Tennessee and Alabama. And I don't mean Alabama, the band, although we will get there. We will get there. I am Tennessee Bradley. I am joined by my co-caster, Alabama Chris. AC,
What's
how
up,
you doing?
Tennessee Bradley? I'm good, man. I'm good. Hey, this is the time of year and the week of the year that we always love to hate because I love the Alabama-Tennessee rivalry. Although this is the place where you and I have to sit on opposite sides of the TV screen in order to not get in fights. So we'll do our best to be diplomatic here. But yeah, this is why we named the show this, even though almost it's entirely since we started this show, the third Saturday in October has always fallen on the fourth Saturday in October. Not next year. We're going back to the tradition. But anywho, we do it because of our shared love of SEC football primarily, but our two favorite teams, Tennessee and Alabama, they have to be represented. And this is now we're going to go head to head. So this is going to be a fun week.
Yeah. So another reason we have a love-hate relationship with this game is we love that it's the third Saturday in October, but we hate that it's not the third Saturday in October. Again, that will all change next year when it will be the third Saturday in October. But I just want to say we've done this. I can't remember if we did it last year. I think we did it the year before. The tradition for this game for the players, the winning team lights up cigars in the locker room and celebrates, which is an NCAA violation. You pay the fine, whatever. It's tradition. It's rivalry. It's a good time. It's been a long time since Tennessee's lit up any cigars in their locker room, either in Tuscaloosa or Knoxville. We're going to do something very similar. Whichever team covers the spread will be gifted a cigar from the loser of the spread. So if Tennessee covers the spread, Chris will give me a cigar. If Alabama covers the spread, I will be buying him a cigar. It only seems fair because otherwise I'm going to be buying you cigars for a long time.
No, I love this because our against the spread competition that we do with our listeners it's against the spread. It's not just straight up who wins or loses. So there has to be a little creativity involved. And so even if I don't pick Alabama or you don't pick Tennessee to cover the spread, we will just use the spread as the determination of who gets the cigar at the end of Saturday night.
I love it. It evens the playing field and it just makes it fun.
Absolutely.
Because it's so unpredictable. But it's time to get on with the rest of the fourth Saturday in October. So let's jump right into it. There was a lot that happened and you missed a lot of it because you were on fall break with your family.
Yeah.
Way out west. Having a good time. But there's a lot of good football.
Oh, man. I was in airports, hotel rooms, and more airports on that day. And so I was trying to keep up with it a lot, but it was kind of like when I would walk by a bar in the airport at either in Las Vegas or Los Angeles, where we both were, I was trying to do all I could to soak up the football. Now, my plan was while I was on a flight to pull up the games and to watch them while I was sitting there, but we didn't have the internet that we wanted to, so I couldn't use my YouTube TV. That would have been a nice thing. So yeah, that last week, as exciting as it was the week that probably in the last 2 or 3 years that I've watched football the least. Even my beloved Crimson Tide, I had to basically catch up on it after the game was over because of just our timing. But it's cool. Still had a fun weekend. It seems like Tennessee had a lot of interesting situations happening. You were talking about being fined earlier, just part of the fan experience of doing that kind of thing. But man, a lot of situations went down last week. What surprised you the most about everything that went down in the SEC in Week 7?
Well, let me run down these scores first. Auburn beat Arkansas 38-23. That was surprising. Just seeing Auburn come out and win convincingly. But even bigger, LSU beat Florida 49-42. A&M beat Missouri 35-14. Kentucky lost to Georgia 30-13. South Carolina beat Vanderbilt 21-20. Vandy'd themselves. Not sure how that happened. Alabama beat Mississippi State 49-0. Sorry, Mississippi State. You just had the wrong week. And Ole Miss outlasts Tennessee 31-26. I mean, LSU has to be the biggest shock. They win against Florida, and then they decide to part ways with Coach O in what seems to be an agreement by both sides. Coach O is going to finish out the season, but then he's moving on. So that's tough too. But LSU win has to be the biggest surprise.
I mean, I'm sure Coach Mullen is still over there in Gainesville talking right now about how his team is still the best team in the East. It just seems like regardless of what befalls Coach Mullen, that he's going to take the time to talk about something. But I mean, no doubt. I mean, even after the game with the whole Coach O stuff, I mean, they're supposed to be challenging Georgia over there in the East, and yet going down to Louisiana, or to LSU, which seems to me it's having not as bad of a year as last year, but up there, even if it's not equivalent to the dumpster fire that was 2020 for LSU. It's been rough. So for them to pull out a win against a Florida team that's wanting to be in the playoff picture, pretty wild.
Yeah, it is very wild. So who knows what will happen down in Baton Rouge. They're getting started early. That's what I know.
Well, that's true. Well, what do you think about all these coaches that have been linked to the job, and all of them have denied it, which I think every coach, if you're actively coaching somewhere, has to do, regardless of what your true interest is. But I've heard everybody from Jimbo Fisher to Dabo to even Lane Kiffin has had his name thrown in. It seems like that all three of those coaches are in places where probably wouldn't be a good move to move. But what are your thoughts on that coach opening?
Yeah, I don't think Jimbo should take it. The Texas A&M boosters will be able to give him a larger contract, in my opinion, than LSU ever would.
So use this as some leverage versus actually considering it.
Yeah. And I don't even know if he'll use it as leverage. I mean, he's already got the largest contract of any college football coach.
Very well could be true.
Because isn't he making $10 million a year or something?
I think that they had
but so I think Jimbo's out, even though he did spend time at LSU. I think he's found what he likes at Texas A&M. Great facilities, boosters that will just keep writing him blank checks. Texas has money. Texas has a lot of money. Louisiana, just the state itself, not so much. Lane Kiffin, he would never leave a head coaching job like soon after getting there, right?
I definitely don't think that he's the kind of personality that would ever do something like
that. But I think he's got a good thing going at Ole Miss. However, LSU would be a step up, but he'd have to start rebuilding again. I mean, not to the extent that he's had to do at Ole Miss. But I don't know if LSU wants to go down that rabbit hole of Lane Kiffin, but I could see him taking it. You get a step up in salary. You get a step up in just players available to you in the state. Louisiana's got great players. Dabo, I don't know. I mean, he's kind of got a good thing going at Clemson. You play in the ACC, and it's not even good this year, but y'all are still struggling. Do you really want to go to LSU and have to play right away Alabama, Texas A&M, Ole Miss? Soon you'll be adding Texas and Oklahoma to your schedule. I'd like to stick with Wake Forest, Florida State, Duke, UNC, Virginia. I think the ACC is just fine for Dabo. So I don't know. From what I understand, LSU's athletic director is not afraid to swing big. And if you've got the boosters behind you to write the checks, do it. I don't know if Tennessee was ready to do the same thing. I don't know if they were ready to write as big of a check because they've been having to pay coaches long after they've left. What's Derek Dooley up to these days? Get him down there.
He may have some opportunities.
He's helped LSU win before. We won't go there. Butch Jones. Or do they go steal like I don't know if Bill O'Brien is high on their list. But do they go steal a top coordinator? They've talked about, would Joe Brady come back to be head coach? Who knows? So I don't know. I think you have to kind of see how the season ends up. Mark Stoops is his name that's been thrown around too. If he can do what he's doing at Kentucky, what can he do with, real resources? So that it's all going to be interesting to see what happens in Baton Rouge over the next 6 to 9 months.
Man, there's not a lot of names that really come to my mind as far as real contenders for a position like that, other than some of those names that we've thrown around. But again, I don't necessarily see, especially the two coaches that are already in the SEC West coaching, that would make that move. I feel like the Dabo, the only reason that it would make sense for him is that if he is trying to prove that I can coach and succeed, even if I'm outside of the ACC, that if I'm in the SEC West, I can still be a contender if I have a team like that. But, I wonder even if, what's his name, who was at Ole Miss, now at Liberty,
Hugh Freeze,
someone like that, who a year or so ago had a lot of hype behind his name. Haven't heard that much from him this season, but maybe that's because he's laying low and waiting for an opportunity like Baton Rouge to come calling.
Yeah, could be. That'd be interesting to see Hugh Freeze back in the SEC and back in the SEC West. Especially when they square off against Ole Miss. That would be fun to watch.
Indeed. Yeah. We'll keep talking about it here though as it unfolds. We'll definitely.
We'll keep tabs on it because they will likely have a head coach named. I would think they'd find one and announce it probably right after the end of the season if they find somebody, the regular season. Because if you find somebody whose team maybe isn't playing in their conference championship, maybe they came in second in their conference, then the weekend of Thanksgiving, that's when you announce it and you can start recruiting, because early signing day happening in December. If you get a good coach, you can't really announce it before the end of the season, because that kind of derails that team's success. But you want to announce it as soon as it's done. It's like, okay, the clock hit zeros on his last game at that school, announce it, release it. If you can get everything sealed up by then, I'd do that, because maybe you steal a couple of people who say, ooh, I'd like to go play for him at LSU. So we'll see. We'll see how
I got to be
works
honest.
Out. These early terminations, I don't know how it works.
Yeah, I was just looking at the remaining schedule, and I wonder if they had that news ready to go, regardless if they won or lost on last Saturday. But just looking ahead to what they have coming up, I can't see, other than the fact that when they play University of Louisiana in Monroe in November the 20th, that they would be favored in any of the games coming up. And again, they just upset Florida, so it's not out of the realm of possibility for them to win a couple more games.
Right.
But this Saturday they're playing Ole Miss, I'm sure Ole Miss is favored. Actually, they are by 9.
Yeah.
And then they have a week off and they play Alabama, which they will be an underdog there. And then Arkansas, which again, Arkansas, they started off the season strong, struggling here in the middle of it. So that may be actually a good competition. They currently are both 4-3. And then that UL Monroe and then Texas A&M. So out of the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 games left, they're going to be underdogs in 4 of them. And so if everything just works out that way, they're going to end the season. What is that? 5-7?
Yeah.
And so maybe they are trying to say now, before things get ugly with Coach O, knowing that the back end of their schedule is looking really tight, that like now we can chalk these losses up to the fact that we're losing our head coach. We don't know who the new guy will be, almost like an excuse of why 2021 is going to be a losing season for them as well.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think he's just got, I mean, there are things surfacing about his personal life. I think he just needs to sort some of that stuff out. And I think that's part of the reason why there was a mutual agreement to part ways at the end of the season without having to probably not having to pay the full buyout. Because otherwise I think Coach O would have said, no, I'm not going to agree to this. You just have to fire me and pay my whole buyout. But I do think it shows he loves his state. He loves this university. And he's willing to do what's best for them moving forward, which is not demand his full buyout, is what it seems. I don't know that I haven't seen any details about the agreement, and it may not have to be released. Maybe it does because it's a public university, but we'll see what transpires.
Yeah, I thought I read somewhere that they were going to be giving him at the end of the season, he will get all of his $17 million that he is it's still outstanding for him or something like that. I could be wrong with that, but I think that is maybe the buyout price at this point. And I've heard that it will probably be met. So again, we'll see how that all plays out in the future.
That's a lot of cash.
I'll take that
low for a couple of years for $17 million.
Yeah. Or what it seems like what other coaches often do is they'll be on the Alabama staff in some sort of advisory role next season. And so we'll see what goes on from there. But it seems like that's a hot thing to do for coaches, is to just go coach a couple of years in Alabama or some other school as an assistant.
Nick Saban's rehab program.
Speaking of old Nick Saban, we back in 4th place, which feels nice, but it felt like a good complete game. Again, this was me having to watch it afterwards, but a good complete game from all sides of the ball after that demoralizing loss to Texas A&M, one that Texas A&M absolutely deserved to take home the game ball for that one. But it feels good as this Alabama fan, especially coming up into a rivalry week with Tennessee, that it seems like they're firing again. I just hope that this continues. The trend of learning from our mistakes and improving from there. I hope that we can really continue that. But yeah, so interesting to see a complete game from Alabama after such a struggle after Texas A&M.
Yeah. And I think a lot of people were saying it was the closest thing to a complete game that Alabama's played this year. Hopefully they've gotten that one out of their system so that Tennessee can have a chance this week. For your sake, I'm glad this game's not in Knoxville this year.
Yeah.
Because you'd have to have tents or something set up to shield your players and staff from the Tennessee fans. That was just embarrassing this last week. The actions over 20 minutes by the fans overshadow what was a great game. And look, there was a play in the first quarter. It looked like Matt Corral thought the play was blown dead because he just stopped. 2 Tennessee defensive linemen wrap him up and start driving him backwards. He drops the ball. One of them scoops and runs it for a touchdown. It's called back because they say his forward progress was stopped, which it was. And watching the replay, I understand why the refs ruled it forward progress was stopped. Yeah, I don't think it's a terrible call. I get fans being upset. We should have had a touchdown. Yeah, well, that's just the way it goes. And forward progress was stopped. That probably, if Matt Crowd kept going, that probably would have been the same call, because they probably would have whistled it dead. But so that was kind of the thing that got started. There were a lot of injury timeouts, but there were this stat was told to me by another radio show. 222 plays run in this game. Ole Miss had 101 on offense. Tennessee had 80 something on offense, I believe, plus special teams, plus any penalties where a play doesn't count on the score sheet. You still ran a play. That's a lot of snaps.
That is a lot of snaps.
And Tennessee fans are mad because Ole Miss players faking injuries. Well, let me tell you something. Tennessee had some injuries on defense too. I'm not sure that all of them were legit. They even had an injury, using quotation marks, air quotes, when I can't remember if it was Spraggins, is one of the offensive linemen, had a helmet break, equipment malfunction. He starts running over a sideline, and his coaches tell him to get down and fake an injury. So you're mad at Ole Miss players doing it, but you're not mad at your own team for doing it. You can't have it both ways.
Yeah.
In today's game, faking those injuries is just a part of the game. You got to learn to get around it. And maybe like with the pick plays that you run, two crossing routes to get the defenders to run into each other, they've made rules against it. Maybe eventually they'll get to making a rule where you have to sit out for the next 2 minutes of game time, or you have to sit out for the rest of the series. I don't know what rule you'd make. That's not my job to come up with those. But until a rule like that happens, is created, you just got to learn to live with it. And Tennessee fans, you lost your cool, and it wasn't cool, and it's costing your school $250,000. Your school's already in the hole because you get fed up with coaches, and you riot. Now there have been coaches who have done illegal things, gotten themselves fired. You didn't really cause that, but you've also created this place where coaches don't want to come here and coach because it can be a toxic environment in one play. Then I got to say that fourth down that Tennessee did not convert. Yeah, the referee that was making the call is 20 yards downfield, but they made the right call. The replays show that he was half a yard short. So I don't know what to tell you other than you just got to calm down, because you cost your school $250,000, which is the equivalent, I think, of what Texas A&M was fined. Was it Texas A&M or somebody else who stormed the field? I think Kentucky stormed the field earlier this year too.
Yeah. A&M certainly stormed the field after the Bama game. I think they were fined $100,000 or $150,000. I can't remember. Yeah. So I was kind of hoping that it would be closer to 100, because storming the field, you put everybody's lives in danger, their health in danger, because somebody gets trampled, or something like that. The Ole Miss players, had to move to the center of the field. They're instructed to put on their helmets because people are throwing golf balls. This is so stupid. Who brings golf balls in? SEC Shorts has a great video this week on it. But the danger to overall health was not as severe with the trash throwing
And with the limited angles we were given on TV because everything was zoomed in, I didn't see pictures of how much actually ended up on the field, or on the Ole Miss sideline. But it's more about the sportsmanship, which was non-existent. That was terrible. That was an unsportsmanlike conduct penalty. Although no flags were thrown. I don't know how you throw a flag on that, because you throw a flag and then they're just going to throw more. And you can't end the game because as you saw, it came down to the last play. I think Tennessee played a great game. If you're going to be mad at anybody, be mad at the Tennessee players for not executing. Let me tell you what, Ole Miss, if it's 3rd and long, they're probably running a QB draw. If you were part of our virtual tailgate, you heard me call that 3rd and long, watch for the QB draw. And they would run a QB draw. Poor execution there on the defense. Poor execution at times on offense. Several 3-and-outs. So great game, overshadowed by poor conduct, unsportsmanlike conduct by a small number of fans, relatively speaking. There were over 102,000 people there.
Oh my gosh.
And even if it's 500 people throwing, which I don't think it was that much, what was that, 0.5%?
Yeah.
So
if that, 0.5%.
Let's move on. Let's play a real team that's probably going to beat our brains out. And we'll see what the fans do this week. So let's move on to this week.
Let's do it, man.
Enough negativity. Let's move on to picks. So shorter or smaller slate. We only got 5 games this week. A lot of teams taking their bye this week. We're going to start off Arkansas Pine Bluff at Arkansas at 11 on SEC Network. We're going with Arkansas as a 35-point favorite. I think they cover. I think they bounce back. I know I said this last week, but I think against Pine Bluff, they can do it.
Yeah, I think that this is one of those classic homecoming games for a large school like Arkansas. I don't know if this is their homecoming, but it seems like one of those classic things that you would do to bring someone in like Pine Bluff so you can be all but guaranteed a win. And I think that with a school like Pine Bluff playing Arkansas really needs to, after having fallen a couple of weeks in a row now, after having started the season so strong, they really need to have a little bit of a bounce back, even if it's to inferior talent like Pine Bluff will be. Nothing against Pine Bluff, but it's Pine Bluff against Arkansas. So yeah, I say that Arkansas covers, even though that's a lot of points to cover, but they may be up 28-0 by the end of the first quarter.
Yeah. Tennessee's been up 28-0 a couple times this year in first quarter, but they were also stupid and scheduled Georgia as their homecoming game. So Arkansas is thinking straight with this. Then at 2:30 on CBS, LSU at Ole Miss. Ole Miss, a 9-point favorite. I'm going with Ole Miss. I think, I don't know, LSU, great gutsy win against Florida.
Yeah.
I don't know that LSU has the offense to keep up with Ole Miss. I think Ole Miss just last week was an anomaly that they didn't score a lot of points.
Yeah, I agree with you. I feel like this is one of those games where Ole Miss is at least 9 points better than the current iteration of what I'm seeing from LSU, even though they had a nice win against Florida last week. So I'm picking Ole Miss.
And then we've got Mississippi State at Vanderbilt at 3:00 on SEC Network. Couple teams I don't know how to pick this year,
right.
but I'm going with the Air Raid Pirates. I don't know why, but it seemed like a better choice than anchoring down with the Commodores.
Yeah, I mean, even though that loss last week for Vandy was so close, And it seems like that they did a good job of coming back. What was it that South Carolina went up early, but then Vanderbilt just kind of kept chopping away at it. If they could have somehow tied it, again, I didn't watch the game, but just looking at the momentum on the box, it looked like that they had the potential, if they could have had just overtime, to just take that win, but they didn't. And again, Mississippi State and Vanderbilt are the two that I always am shrugging my shoulders at now that they're playing each other. Who knows? Vanderbilt may blow Mississippi State out by 30, as far as I'm concerned, with how they both surprise me. But I'm still thinking, like, if I'm just thinking of Mississippi State versus Vanderbilt, I say that Mississippi State covers.
Yeah. I mean, watching Vanderbilt let a second string quarterback go down the field with, I think, under 3 minutes left for South Carolina to win it. I don't trust them against Mississippi State. Excuse me. Then it is time. It is time for the third, fourth Saturday in October. The cigar game. Again, whichever team covers the spread, that fan is treated to a cigar from the other. Alabama, a 25-point favorite. I'm going with Tennessee to keep it within 24. I still think Alabama wins by multiple touchdowns, but I think it's 2 touchdowns and a field goal, maybe 3 touchdowns, something in there is how I'm feeling.
Yeah. This spread is not all that different from what it was 2 weeks ago with Texas A&M. I believe that was a 19-point spread. This is 25. And we saw what A&M did with Alabama. I'm still choosing Alabama to win this game, but I think I'm going to owe you a cigar because I don't think that they're going to cover. And because of that, I'm still going to be supporting the Crimson Tide, but I am choosing Tennessee the points, even though the Cigar Classic, I still feel like that I'm going to be the one buying you something when it comes to after the game is over. I don't know that Alabama scores 25 plus on them, just like you're saying. Even if it's just 24, that'll be enough for you. But I think it's kind of what you're saying, maybe 2 touchdowns and a field goal difference kind of thing, not 25 like is being imagined. So I'm picking Tennessee, even though I'm picking Alabama to win, which means that I most likely will be buying you a cigar on Sunday or Monday.
And, really all this, I think it depends for Tennessee on who the starting quarterback is. If Hooker's able to come back from injury, we got a much better shot to cover the spread. If we've got Milton in there, it may be tougher sledding, and we'll have to see. But we'll see. That's why we play the games on Saturday. And then finally at 6:30 on SEC Network. By the way, the Tennessee Alabama game is on ESPN at 6:00. The last game, South Carolina at Texas A&M. I'm going with Texas A&M. I think they found their mojo against Alabama, and they're just going to cruise past South Carolina, who lost their starting quarterback for the rest of the year. So
Doty's out.
Yeah, he's out. So it's the battle of the backups on the at 6:30 on, what did I say? The SEC Network. So we'll see. What about you, Chris?
Yeah, I also am taking Texas A&M. I mean, for South Carolina to almost lose to Vandy, they got the W there, but I mean, 21-20 against Vandy is pretty rough when you look at that. I feel like that Texas A&M, Jimbo, and Casada, is that his last name? That backup quarterback from A&M that just took it to Alabama. Yeah, something around there. I think that they're at least 19.5 point better than the Gamecocks. So yeah, I'm also picking Texas A&M, which means that I think we went 5 for 5 picking the same teams here. So not a lot will change as far as our standings when it comes to the season-long pick'em competition. But you got to choose and go with your heart. So I feel like that we made some good picks. If something goes awry with these picks that we made, it's going to make for quite the interesting Saturday. But yeah, 5 games only out of the 14 teams that are playing. It's interesting when it gets to this part of the season when everybody starts taking their breaks here. But yeah, man. So we'll both play this week, and then we will both have next week off as far as our teams playing. But it's going to be exciting. 4th week for the 3rd week and 3rd Saturday in October.
Yes, it's confusing, but I can't wait for a break to try to get some people healthy and try to finish out this season strong. So yeah, our picks are in. By the way, BB and Alabama Chris, y'all won last week's Pick'em week. Stickers will be on their way. You can see the results and the current standings over on our Instagram page. But now,
congrats, BB.
Absolutely. Now it's time to pregame.
Pregame. Tailgate, man cave, living room. Pregame. Burgers, ribs, chicken wings, chip and dip. Pregame. Scotch and a lot of IPA, Coca-Cola. Pregame. Slaying dogs. EA. Cornhole. Pregame. How you gonna watch?
What are you doing this weekend? I mean, you're back home. You can watch football all day Saturday if you want. Is that what you're going to be doing?
100%. Yes, I'm going to be resting. I feel like that I'm still playing catch up from the travels that we had. And we just we pushed the accelerator all the way to the floor as much as we could. And so I'm still, even having been back for several days, I'm still recuperating. So it'll be nice this Saturday to be much more low key than last Saturday was. So yeah, I'm going to have my fanny on my couch, watching my TV and my team play your team on Saturday. How about you, man?
You know, last week Tennessee played late. It was great. I didn't watch a whole lot of football during the day, trying to get ready for baby number 2 in just a couple weeks. So ran a lot of errands, went to a friend's drive-through baby shower, got a lot of stuff done, and then hopped on the virtual tailgate for the Tennessee game. A lot of fun watching that one with friends. So I'm going to be doing that again this week. You can join our 3rd Saturday in October virtual tailgate over on thirdsaturday.inoctober.com. We'll send you an email with a link to that. It will kick off at 6 along with the 3rd, 4th Saturday in October. So join us and get your picks in before 11 a.m. Central. That's 12 p.m. Eastern. When the games kick off, just get your picks in before that. Again, you can find links to fill out that form on 3rd Saturday in October.com. I am looking forward to a good weekend of football. I hope there's no storming the fields. I hope there's no trash thrown. I hope everybody just keeps a sportsman-like attitude. That makes the game more fun. A little trash talk, that's fine. Yeah. But play in a sportsman-like manner, fans included. That's what I hope for. That's what I expect of my fellow Tennessee fans, and a lot of times I don't get it. So well said. I apologize to every opponent. Sometimes our fans can be trash, and sometimes they can throw trash. But that doesn't stop me from saying roll Vols.
Yeah, man. And well, I know that we have the 3rd Saturday in October show, but our favorite teams again this year is playing on the 4th Saturday in October, and we're not a stat heavy show. We leave that to all the rest of them. But I love that just our name and the actual date that it's played on causes a statistical formula to need to be set up to make sense of our name plus when our teams actually play. It doesn't matter because we're playing, even though it's the 4th week instead of the 3rd week. I'll get it, and I will say it as well. Roll Vols, baby.